How do I start? Are you unmuted, Emily?
Yes, I am now. Hi,
Oh,
Renee. Hi,
awesome.
everyone.
Okay. So we met at least 10 years ago, I
hmm
think. And she lived around the corner from me, and we've had amazing mystical experiences. And she's gone way far above, you know, she's a master shaman, I would say, and above the calling. She's gone around the planet too, singing and doing healing. It was so funny when we met, and many of you guys will notice this. I'm like, well, yeah. She's like, yeah, I was in Lake Baikal. That's one of the sacred sites. Yeah, we ended up going to Machu Picchu together. Um,
hmm
she'd been to all these sacred sites, and she didn't even know. This was before she was awake. This was unconsciously. She knew what her purpose was. She goes around singing she's a singer, songwriter, and her songs heal the planet. And I probably have your bio here, but this is just from me sending love to you. She is great at connecting to ancestors and great at helping us learn to connect to ancestors. She was in a program here in Utah, or from BYU. She grew up LDS too. We're kind of a little rebel, out of the box LDS people, Mormon people. And so she was on BYU TV about connecting to her ancestors and healing her ancestors. And that was really out of the box. So she is very courageous because, yeah, we don't talk about that in our in our background religion. So, okay. Let me see. I think I do have your official bio. That was just me sending you some love in from my end. And here we go. Emily Potter teaches people how to do healing work for their family ancestral line. Emily's shamanic gifts are primarily based on her work as a musician, utilizing music medicine. She combines this tool with angel communications, generational clearing, leading ceremonies with shaman healers worldwide, and her 7 years of training in matrix energetics technology. Emily's shamanic approach utilizes curiosity and imaginative play as effective tools in accessing the power of limitless possibilities. Yes, we've been friends for a decade, and
Yes, we
I'm so excited
have.
to have you.
Oh, Renee, thank you for putting this together. I've been here pretty much all day and have been enjoying this and just really wowed by the caliber of people that you've brought on and the sensational people who are listening. And all of us have our gifts. We're here. Just the gathering alone is absolutely so healing and so profound. So thank you for putting this together.
You're welcome.
So, we're going to focus specifically on healing our ancestors, and I'm going to share a very recent story that I'm in the middle of right now. So I can tell you a little bit about how it began for me. In fact, Rixie is part of my beginning story over a decade ago, and she was there at the formulative parts of my journey when I first learned that I could talk to ancestors and they could talk in return. So I'll share a little bit about that, but I really want people I feel impressed to share about what's currently happening as of like December 20th, 2020 today. And I'm in the middle of my story, but I feel like that's where it becomes more animated and alive, that this is happening now for me, and I'm learning and growing with the story now of how I'm healing myself and my ancestral line. So we'll go into all of that, and we'll make it what's really important to me is that it's not just a lecture. I really want to engage anyone here who feels impressed that you are connecting to your ancestral space, or you decide that you want to, or you feel that call. I want to give 3 specific steps on how to dive into that. So is that about what you're looking for, Renee?
You know what? Spirit guides.
Yeah.
So whatever spirit tells you to share, you get to share.
Well, we'll go from there then. Well, my story began with going to some healers. This was back, I'd say 2007, 2008. And I went to one and I'd lay it down on the table and they do energy work on me. And then I'd have someone say, I feel like there's like this grandfather with you. Do you know who that is? And I'm just I'm asleep, so I don't know who that is. I don't even know. Really? Great. So this is just coming into the world of healing. And then about 6 months later, I went to someone else because I was starting to really get interested in what energy work was, and Reiki, and all sorts of modalities. And so then 6 months later, I'm talking to another healer, and she says, you have this ancestor with you. It's like a grandfather. Do you know? We're going to talk to that person. And then a year after that, same thing. Now I'm just waking up, and it just is mind blowing to me that three different healers in three different rooms who don't know each other are telling me about this ancestor, this grandfather figure. So that got my curiosity piqued. And I asked, well, can I talk to them? They're like, absolutely, definitely talk to and find out who that is. So I went home at one point, and it's seriously like I was talking on the phone. I just basically went to the sky. Hello? Hello? I would like to have a relationship with you. I guess you're with me. And that little question mark of hello began this journey that continues on. And it's so multi-cosmically, dimensionally interesting and adventurous. And that story is very similar to a lot of ours. We have that initial question mark, and then it takes us on a journey. So I am no different in that way. So it then as Renee made reference to, it brought me into the spotlight of a documentary team who said, you're just learning how to connect with your ancestors. Well, we have a documentary that we want to do about you and talking to your ancestors. It's called The Generations Project. So just as I was emerging, now there's a documentary film crew with a camera on me. And now I better really figure it out. I better figure out how to talk to ancestors, because I'm having the whole world, it felt like it anyway, the whole world watching me. And this is when I was with Rixie. We were friends, and I was freaking out. I was scared. In fact, when it debuted on television, I was at Rixie's house. And she was holding my hand, and I was like, I'm so scared. Now, what I was so scared about is that I was about to be outed, that I talk to angels, that I'm not normal. I already had the dreadlocks, so I was already not normal in that way, but like scary out there, like coming from a conservative family, and all of a sudden I'm about to engage with the world in a way that's not normal and not mainstream. So that was my outing. That was my outing myself. And thousands of people have watched that documentary. In fact, I'm going to put a link in if people want to watch that. It's about 45 minutes. And it's the beginning of when I found out who that ancestor was. It's my great, great, great grandfather. And our journey, him and mine, has been just monumental. He is the catalyst. And since then, I've been able to go and really trust what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling, the impressions, and I've been able to offer angel classes. I made up that that's even a thing. Then I found out that that's a huge thing. It's a whole thing about learning how to talk to angels. So I'm now in that world, and it has been the adventure of a lifetime for me. And it's something that I really value and I hold very, very sacred. So that's back in 2008. We're coming now, adventure of a decade, coming into this very present moment. And this is what I feel the most impressed to share about. And it's very tender on my heart because it's happening, October, November, December, this fall and this winter. So right now, as we speak, I'm in Parkton, Maryland, and I'm in the middle of the country. So just the nearest grocery store is 20 minutes away. And I have this huge front lawn. And in October, 3 months ago, about 400 spirits of my ancestry decided they're going to camp out on my front lawn and go on a family adventure together with me. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about why why you're going to find so many people talking about ancestral healing. If you even just Google that, there's so much going on. This is why I want to share my personal story about what it looks like, so it can get in the nitty gritty. My ancestors saw some of the things that I was struggling with, and it's some things that they have been struggling with and that they had carried down through the DNA on the cellular memory into my body. This is my physical body and also my DNA. And they are extremely invested in my evolution because I am their descendant, but also because if they can assist me in healing the DNA level at the DNA level, it will transcend back and it will go forward. And there are places where my ancestral family line is stuck. And if I decide to say yes to doing the healing work, then I can liberate energy and frequencies for my whole line before me and after me. Now, if you ask me more details than that, I don't know because I'm still in the middle of the story, but that's as much as they told me. Now, there's two specific things that I was struggling with, or I have been struggling with for the last, I'd say, 5 years. Okay, we're going to go into more like 7, 8 years. One on the physical level is I have a skin rash. Now, I did not for the last many years connect my skin rash to my ancestors until October, okay? Another one is allergy symptoms that just won't go away. So I'm not connecting that yet, for the last several years. So there's now the dots are being connected. That's my physical healing, that there's a connection. I'm going to get into that a little bit. On the spiritual level, I'm a musician, and I was so terrified to quit my day job, to actually fulfill my purpose as a musician, because I had a poverty mindset. To be normal means to stay in your day job and don't quit your day job to be a musician. You don't do that. And that is what was carried through my DNA up till until my embodiment. In my cellular level, at the DNA level, we have in our family line the poverty mindset. We have farmers who aren't making a lot of money. My last name is Potter. I can only imagine if I keep going back in the line, I'm going to find potters who are doing pottery. And there's artists in my family. There's a lot of ingrained poverty mindset. I'm a queen. I'm a goddess. I'm divinity. But I have these things that are an opportunity for me to overcome. And my ancestors, it's in our line. So on the physical level, I have this physical stuff, and on the spiritual level, I have this poverty mindset. And more than anything, there's this feeling of I am not enough. Okay, so if anyone can relate to that, if you ever think I don't have enough money, I'm not enough as a musician. Boy, did I have that one. I can't because I'm not talented enough. There's not enough. That's the poverty mindset. It's coming in from every angle. So I now have a choice. They're camped out there's 400. Well, now there's down to about 150. This is back in October. This is my whole journey in the last 3 months. We have about 150 out camped on my front lawn right now. Very engaged in this part of my journey. But 400 came in October when they said, we're very interested in assisting you in doing this journey. And I have no idea what they're going to ask of me. This is one of the most important things. I'm going to go into the 3 steps pretty quickly here of how to even begin. But I wanted to at least set the stage for me, what's going on for me right now. They started to open up all of this information for me. What was happening on the physical level? Let's start with that. I started to get, and my word that I found from one of my mentors from years ago, started to get magnificently obsessed. I say that because I decided to not be in denial that a balanced life is a better life. To be magnificently obsessed means that I have a mission and a purpose and a focus right now that is more important than being balanced in all areas of my life. This is taking everything. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it feels for me inspired. So I became magnificently obsessed to learn the root cause of why I had this skin rash and why I have these allergy symptoms. And what I learned is that it's all connected to heavy metal toxins that have been stored in my liver. Okay, so now I'm finding out, very connected to my ancestral line, these heavy metal toxins started to come into the physical cells from this ancestral line because of the DDT sprayed on farmlands, pesticides, insecticides. I can continue on. Industrial revolution happened. All of these things were run off toxins into the water. Now, this may not be everybody's story, but this is my story. My ancestors are in meditation sharing with me and leading me to specific paragraphs of specific books and then highlighting it, and saying, Emily, this is you. And we're camped out on your front lawn to make sure that you get the dousing of light around this, because we are very interested. And let me just pause for a second and say, they're interested in me healing, not because just they're altruistic. This is helping them evolve too. Every place that they're assisting us, and I don't know all of their specific stories. I know some of them, but there's a mutually beneficial relationship between us and our ancestors. When we do healing work on ourselves and we dedicate that to our ancestors, they are in turn giving back to us. It is very mutually beneficial. So healing us and helping us really helps them on their spiritual soul's evolution as well. So then that's the physical level. I learned about all of these things, and it's now stored in my liver. It's not only the ancestral toxins that happened during their lifetime, but it's also my own lifetime. Lots of toxins going on around here. Then the toxic behaviors of a poverty mindset were coming. I started to see visions of specific ancestors giving me their stories of how they would be told these stories about, or they would be told this information about how they're not enough or they're always going to be poor, and then that they pass that belief down to their children. I was seeing this in vision, and that they pass that down, and basically saying, in our family, we don't get rich, period. Now that's some strong wording. It was all sorts of details like that, just inundated with that kind of thing. And that came up in my life because I was scared of quitting my job. So one of the, and being the musician that I knew I needed to be, to follow my path. So I'll just fast forward because I have a whole thing about the money mindset, and I have a whole course that I actually teach about just the money aspect itself. But I won't go into a lot of that right now, because I want to just emphasize that I did actually choose to trust, and I did quit my day job almost 6 years ago. And boy, did all that poverty mindset come up in the last 6 years. You've been part of my journey for 6 years, Rixie. You know, other people on here too. You've been part of my journey. And all I can say is that I have been successful in weeding so much of that out. And I am very, very grateful. So one of the most important things to share is, if you're on this call right now, most likely you have one of the human adventures going on of money, health challenges, relationship challenges. You know, you have the good solid ones. And most likely, if you're on this call right now listening to me, you could be anywhere in the whole wide world, but you're here right now listening to this. Most likely your ancestors are inviting you to go on a journey to heal this. So it's not just that you're an observer of me right now telling my story. You have the opportunity to engage and say, yes, I would like to go on a deeper journey, so that I can overcome some of these things going on, and that I can dedicate my journey to my ancestral line as well and just see where the adventure takes me. So I actually want really quickly to I I put on YouTube, I'm going to put the link in there right now, my first 9 days of my liver cleanse and that I dedicated to my ancestors. And I even say in there, it's about 35 minutes long. You can watch it later. I put on there, I don't know why I'm doing this journey publicly. This is a very private, personal journey that I'm doing with me and my health, but I feel very impressed to say this publicly. And I still really don't know why, but the fact that I'm talking about it again now is pretty enlightening to me. I want to now go into 3 places in my own experience. None of this is anything besides just my own thing that I've traversed. 3 places, three steps to help heal your family line. And the first part is the preparatory phase, part 1. This is where you can decide. You're still deciding if you want to go on a journey with your ancestors. You're preparing, and there's 3 places and ways that you know that you're about to go on a journey if you decide to. And here's the 3 steps. Whatever it is you're being asked to. So in my example, it was to quit my job to be a full-time musician, and it was to do these liver cleansing, this deep liver cleanse. How in the world, if I was going to think logically, how in the world does a liver cleanse have anything to do with ancestors? I mean, it makes sense to me now, and now that I'm presenting it to you as a presentation, but I'm thinking like, I'm just doing my day, and I'm like, looking at scratching my skin, and I'm not thinking, liver cleanse equals ancestral healing. I'm not thinking that. So these 3 steps. The first, that whatever is being asked of you, it's probably weird. Number 2, you're probably scared. There's something scary about it. And number 3, it just won't leave. So those are the 3 steps, and we're going to go in deeper. It's weird, I'm scared, and it won't leave. Now I'm going to give examples of some thoughts I had under all 3 of these. And even though these are not like all light and lovey kind of steps, I could be like, trust, which is really great. You should definitely trust. But I wanted to get into like the places where I'm not at my highest, most illuminated self. I need healing. And what's being asked of me is weird, and I'm scared, and it just won't go away. So under the category of the first step, it's weird. I had thoughts like, well, this is really way out of the norm. And what I mean by that is the liver cleanse that I did, it's basically just eating a lot of fruits and vegetables and nothing else. And that's not so wild. It's actually amazing, but it's out of the norm of what people are doing. We have a lot of other kinds of foods everywhere, especially during the holidays. So it's out of the norm. I'm now that weird person that you invite over, to the family who doesn't eat the yummy things that people are making. It's out of the norm. That's a thought. I've never done this before. I've never quit my job. I have no idea. I'm giving the 2 examples of the physical part and then the spiritual. I've never quit my job before. I've never just been a full-time musician. There's a lot of the new about it. So it's weird. It's scary. What would people think is a good one, where that you're on track to go on an adventure with your healing. You're asking questions like, you really want me to do what again? Like, what is this thing? So if you're going into the fear of it, and this is one of the most important parts that I've experienced as a healer, is to feel the feeling, to not run away from thinking that some other place and way of being all zen is any better. I feel the feeling. So I'm scared. If I'm scared, I'm going to honor that I'm scared. And some of the things that I was scared about is that I am way out of my comfort zone. And in the example of quitting my day job, I mean, there's nothing more. It basically, for me, was one of the most pinnacle moments of my life. That day that I gave my termination papers to my full-time employment with all of my benefits and insurance and all of the promises that I'm going to be secure, to say, I don't want that anymore. And instead, I'm going to, me and my little, invisible ancestors are going to go on a little journey and hope that it's going to turn out. And being in this healing space with my ancestors means that I'm willing to be out of my comfort zone. Most likely it means I'm willing to jump off of a cliff. Most likely it means I have to start out at least with 100% faith and 0% evidence of it working. And that's not just for a day or two, possibly that could be months or years before I see anything shift in a sizable way. And I'm saying yes to that, especially if you are, yeah, I mean, we're all shamans here, going the distance for your calling. So much of our calling, at least my experience, has been saying yes with 100% faith, my eyes closed and my heart open, and saying, with or without evidence, I'm saying yes. And then in that space of step 2 of being scared is saying, I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. Number 3, the step 3, it just won't leave. So even if I wanted to stay in my comfort zone and like just, be part of Netflix land for days or, just eat lots of things that aren't good for my liver and don't think about it, just close my eyes to anything else. Even in those midst, my ancestors were sharing signs. I was hearing references to things, confirmations. Other things that I would plan would get canceled. That's probably only happened to me on this call. Probably no one else has had things canceled. Other things get canceled so that I only have this to focus on, this healing work, or at least everything that is alive and awake and happening is embodied in this healing work. Also, it's most likely going to keep me up at night. It was keeping me up at night to think, to ponder, to be afraid some more at night. And then the last one for that is I couldn't stop thinking about it. So these are the 3 main steps to start to know that you're on track to do some good healing work. And at least this is my experience. So one of the things that I want to really emphasize is that our ancestors are really our partners. They're our collaborators. And so if I'm not in a place to do healing work for them, I don't have to be a martyr. I don't have to say, okay, I'm going to, just deplete all of my resources and energy to go do healing work. No, the ancestors will come back later. They'll continue to, you can compromise and have a conversation. At least this is my experience. So you can say, hey, I'm ready to do work, but not all the way. There's a whole experience of talking with your ancestors and having this together. I want to go forward and go through those steps one more time. It's weird, I'm scared, and it won't leave. And I'm going to go in and share with you my inner yes of when these things came up, what it looks like to say yes to the ancestral healing. And I share this in the spirit of whatever it takes. I have a rash on my body, and I have these allergy symptoms, and I have this poverty mindset. But I want to share that if I decided to stay normal, I can handle all of those things. Some people have gone into their journeys where they can't, you're so uncomfortable, there's no way out. And you're engaged, and you have to, it's like you had an earthquake happen, and now you're set on course to do the work. Sometimes, however, we are given the option where we don't have to have the earthquakes happen. We can have this little feather, and we can decide to say yes to the feather. And what I mean by that is just these little promptings or these little spiritual intuitions to begin a journey. I've decided in my life that I only want feathers. I don't want huge earthquakes, as much as I can, so that I show the universe, I show my ancestors, I really want to engage and I want to do this work, but let's do it in the most gentle way. That's something that's really important to me. More than anything, though, I have this inner yes. And I believe that people who are so committed to coming to a global shaman conference, I'm in good company. We have people here. You are someone who is saying yes to your calling. So these are going to sound really familiar. Some of these things I'm going to share with you about my own experience of saying yes. There will be, however, and this is what I intend, is that there may be some things that I say when I said yes to some of these this healing work that might trigger you and inspire you. So that's my intention. Places where you might feel stuck, I want what I'm about to say to help you feel like you feel supported. So having the weird happen. I've never done this before, so here I go. It looks like my ancestors are taking me on a family adventure. So once again, I'm sharing what the yes looks like, and I'm going to dedicate this to anyone who's ready to do more ancestral work for your healing. This is way out of the norm. So I am healing traumas, diseases, patterns, and paradigms in ways that the norm cannot reach. Now that's important for so much of us who are the change makers. We cannot, or at least I cannot, look at the norm, look at mainstream to assist me to do the ancestral work. I would have to just stay normal and stay in that paradigm of normal. So if I'm going to step out and do some healing work, it comes with all of the blessings of what that is too, and all of the support that the ancestors are ready to offer me. So this is way out of the norm, the work that you might be led to do for your own healing. And it looks like the norm cannot reach the places that you're about to go into. In my own experience, the norm says to stay in a day job and not to follow and pursue my passion. So it had to go and take me to that cliff edge. And then I was able to overcome and thrive out of that poverty mindset that was given to me so that I could actually do what I came here to do. So that question of what would people think is a big one about how weird we are going to be. It's like the first thing right now. If I asked you, what would people think? You have right now 2 or 3 people in your mind of whose opinion you're afraid of. So like it's usually a family member or a best friend or a neighbor, someone close, or your job, if you're at a job and you don't want your coworkers to know how weird you are. Right now, you probably have 1 to 3 people's names come to your mind. You're like, what would people think? What would so-and-so think? And these individuals, they start out being the ones that are the most scary. However, as a world-changing shaman who's doing healing work for your ancestral line, these individuals and those names that come to mind are the best friends of your journey, because they are the ones whose voices are right here, so that you either listen to them and stay scared and stay stuck, which is your right to do, or you have no other choice, and you've given yourself no other choice than to overcome it, to walk through it, to communicate through it, to find a boundary through it. Whatever it is, these people are your best friends on your shaman journey. That's been my experience so far, and to feel your feelings all the way through it is paramount for me. All right. So what do people think? What would people think if I actually went and did this journey? Okay. So the fears that come out. I am way out of my comfort zone, which is where my greatest courage and our family's greatest healing exists. I'm not the only one who knows about this. Every single one of us knows that our greatest adventure comes right outside of our comfort zone. This has been my experience. And then, of course, we get into a place where we can enjoy the fruits of the journey, and then we can have that comfort and that success along the way. We can experience those success moments. But the things that my ancestors have asked me to do, and I'm only giving you this little example right now. This has been, quite the journey since that time being at Rixie's house with that documentary. The comfort zone becomes the uncomfortable zone. Staying in that comfort zone of just zoning out to Netflix only becomes comfortable for so long. It becomes too uncomfortable to stay in that place. My ancestors are there. They're ready to engage. They're ready to have a unique relationship and a journey with me. And so if you're there, then I very much support you taking that step. So then there's the next part of that. I'm scared. I feel like I'm jumping off a cliff. So then you realize, or I realized, if I feel like I'm about to jump off of a cliff to do this powerful work for my ancestral line, I'm realizing that I'd rather attempt to fly and maybe fail than to stay stuck. I would rather jump off of a cliff if given two options, which I have two options. If given the option to jump off a cliff, I would rather jump and maybe fall than to stay where I'm at. And that's a very powerful place to be, especially with doing this work for the ancestral line. I want to really hone in to the fact that this isn't just somewhere out there in a meditation. Doing ancestral healing work, at least in my experience, is right here, right now. Talking about the skin, your own very skin. This is like, it's so family. It's family. And even though I don't know all of their names and I don't know who is whose child, because some of the people who are out on my front lawn camping out there, this is generations and generations back. I don't know all those details, but family is extremely powerful to commit to in this kind of healing way. And the result of it is truly a sense of liberation, that your dreams, this is one of the themes of my life. I want to do absolutely everything I can for the dreams that are living inside of me to be free. And the fact that we all have ancestors who want that for us. My dream is to have this ultimate health. My dream is to have that queen's feeling of knowing who I really am. Financially, monetarily, it's not out of my grasp. It is my birthright. It is your birthright. You don't have to stay stuck in some of the things that are plaguing us. In fact, as the change makers, as shamans, we are here to do this work, and it can be a lot of fun. So I'm going to keep going. This is an important one about the fear. If you have a fear about doing this kind of work, I have no idea what I'm doing, if that's something that you're feeling. So I'm really going to listen to the whispers of my ancestors and stay very humble. That's a very important part of the switching away from the fear into the place that's more useful. If you and I don't have any idea what we're doing, we really have this wealth of wisdom and resources on our ancestral line who want to come in and engage us with that wisdom. And so my job is to listen to it and to not fake knowing what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. So to be a channel, to be a vessel and saying, I'm here. I said yes, I'm saying yes, and I'm ready to stay in that space of humility and to listen. What is it you'd like me to do? So the third step I talked about is whatever is coming up for you to heal, you most likely are going to keep seeing it. It won't leave. It won't leave. So you're going to see signs. You're going to see references to things. People are going to out of the blue call you. You're going to get all of these confirmations. And what that means, if we shift it into that positive light, is this means that I'm on track. And it also means that the healing work is not complete. So I'm going to share that if you decide to watch that YouTube video of my first 9 days of this journey back in October, when I did my first 9-day liver cleanse, at the end, I said, I really wish that by the end of these 9 days, my skin was free of rash and I was all just fine and everything's in this nice solid little box of, I do ancestral work, I say yes to it, and then by the end of these 9 days that I committed to, I'm healed. That's not the way it works. And what they told me instead is, Emily, you're about to go on a very long journey, which is not that fun to hear. But it was basically saying that the healing work is not complete. You have said yes to going deeper. And so we're going to go deeper together. And it doesn't maybe sound like it's good news, but actually quite comforting, because this is what I have chosen to do. I came here to do healing work. If I'm still in the middle of it, it's going to continue to be supported. So then if it won't leave, another part of that, other things get canceled. And I'll give you an example. I was supposed to come out to Utah. I'm from Utah, and I was supposed to see Rixie and others, and that's my family out there. That trip just last week got canceled. I didn't get to come. And instead, you won't believe it, this is going to be a crazy thing to say, but instead my ancestor says, go ahead and commit to another 9-day liver cleanse. So I've now done it 3 times, the liver cleanse, and I'm going to continue on. So instead of doing this trip with my family and seeing friends and having musical performances that were confirmed out in Utah, the whole thing got canceled. My heart broke, and I got to mourn that and feel all of my feelings around that. And then instead, I heard very clearly, it's time to go deeper within, and it's time to go even deeper within the toxins and release the toxins that's inside your liver. And so that's what I did instead of coming to Utah for this beautiful holiday trip. And it's been a phenomenal week. Lots of learning, lots of clearing, lots of emotions. So basically my point with that is, this is my magnificent obsession right now. And even if I try to put other things on the calendar, it will get canceled, because this is the most important work for me to do right now.
So Emily,
yeah,
I want to in. You only have a few more minutes. Were you going to take us on like an experience of connecting to our ancestors and them handing you something? Remember that one that you did with?
Yeah, we can do that. In fact, that's the perfect thing to do right now. So people who are ready to say yes deeper, and let me know, we're done in 4 minutes, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's up to, we can go over a little bit, I think.
No, that's okay. I don't need to go over.
Okay, awesome.
No, we're good.
Yay. Okay, I could do this all day, but yeah. Go ahead.
So I want to share, those of you who want to open the adventure with your ancestors even more. So perhaps many of you are already on this journey with your ancestors. Open up and receive the invitation. And all you have to do, if you decide to do this, is to say yes. Give your heartfelt yes. I want to go on this adventure. I want to clear stuck energy that's in my ancestral family line. And all you have to do is say yes. You don't have to know how. You don't know what it's going to look like, but most likely the most important thing to share is it's probably something that you're struggling with right now. And it doesn't have to be something that's shamanic, that feels like it's supposed to be something. It could be money. It could be a broken heart. It could be that you calling in a relationship. Whatever it is that you're struggling with, there's most likely a connection with your ancestors and their interest in supporting you.
About
Technology, Rixie, girlfriend. So there's a stuck place that can be a healed place. That's the message. So what Rixie's making reference to is, I would love for every one of you to take a moment to just open your hands up, cupping your hands like this. And your ancestors are going to offer you something to put in your hands. Don't try to make up what it is. it can just be anything. And I'll take just about 10 seconds to just be quiet and just for you to receive it. Wherever you want that to go ahead and just put it in your room. You can shoot it out into your world with your hands like that. You can put it on your heart, wherever you want it to go. Take a moment and then just breathe it in. So I'll just be quiet for about 10 seconds. I want to say thank you to those who decided to say yes to receiving that. If you didn't feel like you saw anything particular with your mind's eye, just know that your yes is quite powerful. So you can trust that. And going through some of these steps, if you feel afraid, if you have confirmations coming up and it just won't leave, if it feels weird, you know that you're on track. So we are complete. There's so much more, and I get so excited talking about this. But I want to invite each one of you, if you're interested in continuing this journey with me, the free gift that I'm offering is next week, next Tuesday. I'm doing just a 30-minute Q&A class on Zoom, and so I'm gonna just put that inside of the chat as well. I did notice, Rixie, that you didn't have the Zoom link on the main stage. So if you want the Zoom link, go ahead and copy that for your reference, everyone who's interested. But maybe you can put it in there. I don't know. But yes, that's the free. If you want to continue and ask questions, then I'm going to be available live next Tuesday. And for about 30 minutes, we'll be together and we can connect some more. Oh, and you're muted, Rixie.
Like I said, technology. Wow, thank you so much, Emily. I just love that exercise. Getting, I don't know what I got. You're saying that weird things. I have no idea. Some kind of black rod of something. I don't know, but I'll find out, I'm sure. So thank you. Everybody give her some love.
Thank you so much for hosting this. Thanks to everyone for listening and being part of this. So powerful to have your presence here.
Oh, yes. And I wanted to say that ancestral healing is huge for this time of the feminine, because the feminine heals, right? Heals the past. And so that's why it's so huge right now to go back and heal your ancestors, and that will heal your future generations as well. And will move that will move our planet forward. Okay. 7 generations to come, 10, 20. You'll be a spirit in heaven, being so happy, jumping up and down that you got to assist with creating this new generation that's coming on the planet, like healing your ancestors. So, yay! Well, we are, yeah, I see you guys clapping, yay. Okay, so now we get to hear back from Amrak again. She's going to close us with a closing ceremony. For those of you that may not have been here earlier today, she opened the portal up for this beautiful space, and we'll need to unmute you. I'm going to unmute you. Wait, ask to unmute. Will you unmute yourself, Amrak? She's a beautiful. For those who didn't get to meet her earlier, she was a huge asset, or a huge change in my